Welcome to the Enlighten Up podcast, where I am going to take you into a deep exploration of what it means to exist in this current reality. We are going to raise your vibes, open your mind, expand your heart, and dive deep into the wondrous mysteries and possibilities of this lifetime. There's been a spiritual catalyst that has set in motion the awakening process of many across the globe to return to the knowingness of self and unite what has been separated. Together, we're going to bring light into that darkness. We're going to remember the joy of living. But most of all, we're going to turn up the volume of our own eternal power and do the thing we're here to do. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Enlighten Up podcast. Today's episode is very interesting because, as you know, some teachings are spoken and others are carried. And Banafsheh Sayyad is one of those rare teachers whose wisdom doesn't live in words alone. It moves, it breathes, and transmits through the body. As a master sacred dancer and the visionary behind Dance of Oneness, she works in the space where ancient feminine lineages, devotion, and lived embodiment converge. This episode is going to be your invitation into a deeper intelligence, one that remembers the body as sacred, movement as medicine, and joy as a legitimate path of awakening. Banafsheh, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here and to speak with you.
I know.
I'm really looking forward.
Yeah, I am like a kid in a candy shop right now because what you're offering to the world, I know has been, and I haven't even done anything that you're doing specifically, but I know just through movement and dance alone, I have been able to unlock things within my body that have been not just healing, but rapture might be a good word to use. So, I don't even know where to begin because your journey is so interesting. Like you grew up in Iran, correct?
I did. I grew up in Iran and then moved to England, but my memories of Iran are very poignant. I remember so well. And then went back to Iran after living in England for a little while and in the United States, went back to Iran and then came out again and have been living in the United States for most of my life. Unfortunately, not able to go back to my country yet.
Yeah. So why don't we, just before we hit the record button, we were kind of just briefly touching on what's kind of happening right now. Did you want to share, like from your perspective too, what's kind of going on in your home country and what you're hoping for to transpire?
Yes. Well, since the turn of the year, people have been protesting on the streets of Iran. It started with the bazaar, with the merchants, with the shops closing, and then university students join, and now it's spread to many different kinds of people from different backgrounds and professions, and it's all over the country, and it's persistent. And even though this regime is, cracking down on the protesters and shooting at unarmed protesters, unfortunately, they're not backing down. The people are just so courageously standing up for what they believe in and for the future that they can now see very clearly that will be without this regime, and a situation where people can have freedom to basically choose as they, live as they choose.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm very hopeful and I'm very supportive of what is happening. And I think before long, we will see a change, a great change.
I hope so. I mean, we've just seen a major change with Venezuela, that I know a lot of Venezuelans are extremely excited about and grateful for. So I hope that this is the next one. I've heard prophecies that this is to come to pass for your country. So
Yes,
I,
me
I
too.
Yeah, I hope that is the case. Now, were you exiled from Iran, or what happened there?
Yes, so we left the country before the Islamic takeover happened. Back in 1979, I was a little girl. We left the country, but my mother and my sister and I went back. My father never returned. He's a very famous writer, playwright, and filmmaker who has been very vocal about this regime. So he wasn't able to go back.
Mm,
But we went back for a while, and I lived through the war with Iraq, and I had to put on the hijab and experience the oppressiveness that this regime has maintained toward women throughout its longevity, throughout its life. And then left the country when I was 14. Left and have been living in the United States, but we had to get political asylum here in order to be able to stay,
mm,
proving that if we went back, there would be persecution, and absolutely would have been against my father because he's very vocal
hmm.
against the atrocities of the regime.
So you come from a very creative lineage, then a family of that's very creative and very expressive. So living in a place that is so oppressive to probably different thoughts, but also the way you want to express yourself through a lot of different ways. What was that like for you, considering what you're doing today?
Well, I was very young when I was there. First, my first 10 years was before this regime, and there was a lot more freedom, obviously. But because of the influence of Islam and the way the exoteric religion views dance and music as sinful, um, this kind of mentality had crept into people's thinking, even though they were not religious. So I was not really trained in dance. My parents didn't think, oh, this little girl who's always dancing and is just in love with dance should be trained, only because of the mindset that Islam had just kind of perpetrated in people's minds, even without them knowing, I think. So I did experience it in that way. But after the Islamic takeover, absolutely. I mean, going to school, we would be searched for the school officials to make sure we didn't carry like cassette tapes. Those days we had cassettes, or books that were in English, or makeup. I mean, things were really hardcore. And of course, throughout the life of this regime, women's dancing in public has been forbidden. Women dance a lot, but it's underground. And I don't know if you know, but a lot of the protests that began with the Woman Life Freedom movement back in 2022, a lot of the protests had dancing in it, and
Oh,
which really excited me because instead of shouting against something and kind of making yourself angry and resentful, you're opening yourself to a very joyful state, and standing for what you really believe in instead of what you're against. Dance gives us um, that kind of opportunity to really feel that unlimited loves, and then stand for it and show that this is what you're um, wanting to see more of instead of fighting against something.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's really beautiful. I know one of my good friends that I went to university with, and we still stay in touch. She's Iranian, and they had a big Persian association in the university that I was at, and so I would hang out with them a lot. And I know that later on, like in the last few years, she's been very like vocal about what's going on over there. So. I'm really excited for hopefully the release, the exiting of this regime for your country, for the people, everything. Because You say that in your writing here, you say that most of us live in our heads and are missing the opportunity to experience the body as a source of true happiness and spiritual awakening. Can you first share what you mean by that, but then also can you go into your first encounter with that?
Oh, what a beautiful question. So yeah, what I've realized through just personal experience, my own experience, and observing it in many people, people that I have taught, or people that I who are my friends, and just seeing people in general and observing society. We live in our heads. We really hold the mental capacities above and beyond any other human capacity. And also people in the spiritual world may also feel like, oh, spirit is this higher entity that I want to aspire to experience more of, and kind of create this dualism of mind body, spirit body, or spirit matter. And the invitation is to fuse these domains that are kind of separate in our thinking, in our experience, fuse them and let yourself experience uh, spirit from an embodied place. Instead of transcending the body, finding spirit within by delving even deeper into your physical sensation and your and presence, really. And in terms of mind, remembering that you have a body too. For example, I really always lead people to sense the ground with their feet, and direct energy down into the rest of their body, instead of just being focused up here, so that you have a fuller experience of yourself. I don't advocate go beyond mind or let go of your thinking, but integrate it into this fuller experience of being. And to answer your question of when did I experience that, it's hard to say. It's kind of it's in waves, really,
Mm-hmm.
and just it's an experience that gets deeper and deeper. It has new layers to it as I explore it further.
Yeah, it's I think it's a normal process within the spiritual journey of maybe wanting to leave the body and go elsewhere and have your consciousness travel and all of that, but to be in your body and hold those frequencies and embody them through movement and because the movement of the body can completely reorganize your entire field around you, which completely changes your frequency, your energy, everything, and how the reality can interact with you. And so it's a very advanced form of spirituality, actually, to be spiritual through your body, to let it move and all of that. I find that that is a very difficult stage of the journey because so many people are trying to transcend their pain or their body, thinking that this physical existence is like, I don't know, some mediocre level of being, whereas like it's the mastery, that's where the mastery lives. Can you speak to that in your own personal experience of what
Yes, I
you've
love this
discovered?
topic actually, because I mean this is the core of the book and the core of what I like to invite people into and remind us of, that it is in this dimension that we become fully realized. So bringing those all of those spiritual teachings and the wisdom and the experiences and making them a lived experience is the opportunity that we have when we incarnate here. And it is like what you said. I totally agree. It is the most advanced stage. It is the most difficult stage because of the so-called messiness of physicality, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's so much, it just feels so mundane and it feels so cumbersome. And it can be far easier to just try to transcend it. Go to a monastery and just kind of leave the world where you don't have the interaction with others, which trigger all kinds of emotional, responses and reactions and habitual thinking patterns. It's so much easier to leave all of that and just kind of feel that, okay, I'm in this bliss place and I'm complete. But then what happens when you come across a person and they trigger you? Are you able to hold that presence that you had cultivated when you left
Mm-hmm.
everything? So in the midst of life, to find that center, to find that axis, the vertical axis within the horizontal, is really the invitation.
It is. And on top of that, what I'm noticing with myself and even my clients, this has been a discussion over this week and last week, primarily too, is when you start stepping into a much more expanded version of yourself that is forcing you to go really far outside your comfort zone because it's what you're asking for, it's what you want, whether it's you want to cultivate, like you want more in your career, you want more money, or you want more visibility, in whatever you're doing, or you want more clients, or whatever it might be, more of anything. Your body has to learn how to hold that expansion. And that is the hardest part about really mastering into that future version of yourself that you're really wanting to step into. To me, that is like, especially when, it's, throughout my life, I've like wanted to expand into different things, but in this last 6 months to a year, I've really started to ask for so much more. Like I've made myself so uncomfortable with what I've been asking for that my body's starting to freak out. And I'm like, okay, like I have to constantly, like every day, be like I'm using like vagus nerve resets within my body. Movement, dance has been something that is like, okay, just move your body and relax into like fun and excitement and like that expansive state that like is a lot of times through like medicine journey, you can reach that really expansive state. Like, how do you hold that in your everyday life, especially when you're asking for so much more? And that means that life is going to start compressing down on you to make sure that you can hold it, right? And so you're going to come up against these challenges and obstacles that are not meant to punish you, but to help you step into what it is that you're asking for to prepare you for that. So the expansion state, I feel, is also a huge part of that. And to me, movement has been crucial.
Yes, it's interesting what you're saying because this is exactly what I've been reflecting on these past few days. Exactly what you said. To if you want unlimited possibility, you need to embody that. What does that mean? What does that mean to be unlimited within this physical form? And it's not just an idea, it needs to be a lived experience. It needs to be viscerally felt.
Yes.
And what movement does, what dance does, especially,
Mm-hmm.
more
Why,
than
okay, why
just
dance
movement.
specifically? Talk to me
Yeah,
more
why
about
dance
dance.
specifically? First of all, because usually you dance to music, and music has the power to completely shift our state in just a few seconds, right? When it opens your heart and you can't even control it. It just takes you, the music that touches you.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, then and you're moving to that, then you start to experience states that are not experienced in your daily life where you're just kind of mentally focused. You immediately drop into a deeper place. And I think that that deeper place is a more heart-centered place depending on the music,
Mm-hmm.
but it definitely shifts our state. So that's very different from movement because sometimes movement is without music
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes you're just doing it to achieve a certain thing, whether it's better fitness or more ease. you sort of have an agenda with it, but with dance you kind of surrender to the moment more. It has that potential. And that's why people, when they come to my classes and their state shifts so quickly, they're kind of baffled. How did that happen? It's the power of music and letting that music be felt and expressed in you,
Mm.
you know?
Absolutely. I mean, I was just sharing this yesterday on in one of my programs, my new programs. That yeah, I remember in one of my medicine ceremonies that was just for me, um, how all of a sudden I was so surrender, and that's what I love. Like when you surrender and you let your body be moved through the music and you're letting like the music move you and spirit uses the music to move through you and all of that. Like I remember there was one journey that I was in where I was like, my body was contorting and stretching and opening into like doing all these movements. It was almost like a yogic dance, but like so different than anything I've ever done before. And it somehow it knew like the movements knew how to exactly stretch my muscles in the exact way and get the fascia and like target that and like open me up into this really like really just expansive open state. And I found it so interesting because I'm like, I've never moved like this in my life. It was so interesting to see how open I felt after, like just how released and all of that. You know, I think that's something that we don't realize that this vessel, although we think it's limiting us, it actually is the technology to open us fully in ways that we don't see.
For sure. And any experience that we will have in our lifetime is through this vessel.
Hmm.
Even those, incredible transcendent states is experienced through your vessel. You wouldn't be experiencing those if this wasn't here. So to honor that, to really honor that, and to be curious about it instead of the way we say, the body is limited, it's the cage of the soul. We've heard this from time immemorial, unfortunately.
Hmm.
We have this inheritance of the patriarchal cultures where the body is looked down upon, as is the earth and the feminine. These three are suspect, and the body and the earth need to be transcended because spirit is pure, because soul is pure, and the body is a house of sin,
Hmm.
which is just really nonsense. And it's, that whatever we're experiencing today as this disassociation from nature and the degradation of our environment is a result of that type of thinking, is a result of that particular way of ex- experiencing life,
I
unfortunately.
completely agree. And so you speak on movement awakening our consciousness and healing our body. Can you go deeper into that?
Absolutely. So when just what you were referring to, letting yourself be danced, when that happens, when we're allowing ourselves, when we're opening ourselves to a higher frequency to be experienced by us and to move through us, that in itself begins the healing process, I feel. Because a lot of times the disease or the ailments come from sensing that you're alone and you have no support and this is how things are. But the moment that you let your energy flow and you're open to a higher vibration to move through you, that can bring in much more integration and a sense of healing. And the other thing is also, you refer to it, there's a body wisdom. Your body knows how to heal himself. I don't like to refer to the body as it. Uh, your body knows, and if you allow your body to tune it to the wisdom that it inherently has, the body will bring itself to homeostasis, to balance. It's trusting that knowing. So oftentimes, if I have an ailment, my body shows me how to move to relieve that ailment. So I always call it a dance of that particular ailment, the dance of your hurt
Mhm.
shoulder or the dance of neck pain. Really letting your body do the work of moving through. It's quite astounding how, the wisdom that our body holds. I mean, already it's keeping us alive, right? I mean,
Yeah.
how miraculous is that?
Well, it's interesting because when we speak about the body is like more of a macrocosm of, say, like our DNA and our cells and all of that, right? So I know that they've done even studies on this where they've um, watched that, like, for instance, if someone is in a whether it's changing their state of mind through music or through, say, like some sort of psychedelic. They've seen the studies where the DNA starts to like release its coil more, like it starts to expand. And the same thing, if that's what it's doing at that level, you know that the body's wanting to do that as well. And so, was there anything specific? Do you remember any specific ailment or pain that you had to move through that you were almost, I don't want to say shocked, but intrigued by the body of how it chose to release that?
Oh yeah, I have so many examples of that for sure. Hip pain, knee pain, ankle pain, just allowing my body to show me how she wants to work out this ailment. But also throat issues, digestive issues. It's miraculous how when we tune into just letting that guidance come from inside us, that so many of our ailments can be healed.
Hmm.
I've had so many students that have reported putting away their antidepressants and anti-anxiety medications. That's very normal. I've found that the the state that you arrive at through dancing, that joyous, elevated state, that is through the body, obviously, and therefore you can maintain it into your daily life, is something that there have also been studies about of how people were able to replace their antidepressants or the meds that they take for their emotional states with dance, because it really does bring us into elevated states that we can maintain. It's not like you went into this transcendent state and now you have to try to see how it can move into your daily life. Because it's a body based
Yeah.
practice,
I
it's
find
easier to translate.
I find that when you use specific music, and again, it's individual. It really depends on the person and what really resonates with them. But if you use something that's got a specific rhythm and repetitive, like even repetitive chants or lyrics or whatever it might be, drumming, anything like very rhythmic,
Mhm.
and then you start moving your body to that rhythm. There's like a coupling of gamma and theta within the brain waves. So you get this coupled brainwave state that really starts to shift your mood for sure, but it turns off that mind of trying to like always just think things through and analyze and all of that. And so for me, like if you're coming out of a state of maybe depression or anxiety or whatever that might be, it's because you're not problem focused anymore. You're not trying to like fix something. You're in a state that's way more relaxed and letting go, and the mind's working in a much more expansive way.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And with, sacred dance, especially the whirling dance, the turning dance, that activates the gamma waves, absolutely. And you
Mm.
come into this state where you're receiving incredible guidance. This is the practice that made Rumi Rumi. It is through the whirling that he was able to receive the poetry that we love so much from him, and just let it flower through him in perfect rhyme and meter in Persian. I mean, that just shows you the level of coherence that's created through this very simple movement. You're just turning around yourself. but it is so profound.
Do you think that movement is symbolic of like the helix, the DNA,
Oh,
that turning?
yeah.
Yeah, so it's really getting into the state of creation, right? Like that.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Exactly. I mean, everything that we can conceive of is turning, right?
Yeah.
All the way from the cosmos to our very DNA and our cells. Everything spins, everything's turning. Nassim Haramein says that all life forms come into coherence through the spin, and
Mm.
even that creation happens through the spin. So it's so profound to step into it by choice, without an agenda, and just see what emerges. And it's profound. I mean, I've just seen profound things happen to people through it,
Yeah. I
and
mean,
to myself.
I love talking about this because I feel like I'm going straight back into the moments in my journey when I'm dancing. Like I can literally like just tap right into that sensation and feeling right now. One of the things that I really would love to go deeper into is talking about how you can transform trauma, and really kind of bring through creative power through that, because this is something that I've seen in my clients where I remember many years ago I was working with a girlfriend, and one of the messages from her inner child that I was getting for her was that she needed to paint, and now she's a full-blown artist, like, and it literally start happened overnight. Like she started the things that she painted, I'm like, whoa, how have you not painted before, right? And then another one of my clients, I remember we were working and it was our first session. And after our first session, she found like this overwhelming need to paint, which for her, she had never thought of to paint ever before. It just came. And so she started painting and she started to find that there was joy in the healing of the expression of the emotions through painting. And so she had been through a very deep healing journey, like over a decade long, of very like chronic issues. And for the first time ever, healing became a joy for her. And through that, we started to make extreme headway in how the body was healing, relationships, everything in her external world. So, can you speak more to this, especially through dance?
Well, creativity is very healing. I have found that that's probably the most healing mechanism that we have. Through it, and especially through dance, we access a state that is bigger and more expansive than our trauma or the current experience we're having. And this experience of being vaster than that becomes something that grows when you go into it deeper, when you go into dance or any other creative mode deeper. It just so happens that with dance, because it is body based, you're literally not only accessing that expanded state or that feeling that you are more in charge of your life, that happens through creativity. Because it is body based, you're also starting to heal your body. So it has this double benefit in that way. And yeah, I think that primarily it is that you become bigger than your trauma. You start to feel that there's more than that one experience, and you're able to then uh, radiate more love and compassion to that experience,
Hmm.
and be able to embrace yourself in it.
So you come from a feminine lineage that fuses Taoist wisdom and mystical traditions with flamenco, Tai Chi, Persian dance, and Sufi whirling. Can you go into those specific elements of the dance? And I mean, I'm sure part of it's just because of like part of your lineage and what you're drawn to, but is there anything specific of why those really work for you and your clients, and what's and go into the wisdom behind all of that, please?
Sure. I mean, it just is that these were the forms that I learned
Hmm.
personally. And so I realized that these forms, each one of them being so different from each other, yet all of them sacred forms, cultivate a certain aspect of being human, cultivate a certain aspect of evolving us into the divine human. For example, flamenco is very empowering. It's very grounded. It gives you self-authority. It gives you self-reliance so that you don't feel a victim to your circumstances and you take charge. You're responsible for what is happening in your field. You don't blame others and situations for your experience, which is very important
Mm-hmm.
as you're, evolving into who you really are. Tai Chi is the complete opposite form to flamenco. You sort of merge your identity into the greater. You just start to flow with everything, and you literally experience oneness through your body, and you become faceless. Form merges into wave, and everything is just one fluid ocean of movement. It's like the undercurrent of all movement to me. And it makes you soft and access a soft kind of power, which is very different from flamenco. That's a very fierce power.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's Persian dance for me that also is a big expression that I teach. And this is a very ethereal form. It's very if Tai Chi is water and flamenco is fire, you can think of Persian dance as air. It's ethereal, it's light, it lifts, and it's very sensual in a holy way. So sacred sensuality is accessed through it, and it is very very beautiful, very Aphrodite-like. It's just beauty embodied and beauty adored.
Mm-hmm.
Now, all of that becomes kind of fused together through the whirling, through the spin. So all you spin them all into whatever, however way a particular person can be helped by all these forms. But the whirling becomes the cauldron, let's say, that all of this is kind of poured into, and then what emerges is to be seen. But
Oh,
the
wow.
whirling is the most sacred form from all of these, and it really takes you into the unknown and deeply into your own heart. And then, yeah, whatever emerges is miraculous usually. It's an incredible sense of stillness and silence and guidance.
Could you share an experience with one of your students or clients that have gone through that experience that was went through some sort of metamorphosis just through the dance themselves? Like, is there anything that you could share with my audience to give them an idea of like what can happen?
Yes, many examples of that, but the one that comes to me just came to me right away was a student of mine who was struggling with what career she should go into. She knew that she loves movement and dance therapy and this kind of work, but she wasn't sure. She was afraid of going into it, not knowing what kind of future she would have with it. She was studying at the time to be a real estate agent, which she just abhorred. And through really surrendering to the whirling, to this practice of listening deeply with the heart, which is it is called sama, which means to listen. This practice, through really surrendering to spirit and listening for guidance in her own heart, she completely downloaded this path and just how to and the full strategy of how to open a dance studio and to bring in these teachers and then the kids. She just had like the whole thing planned out, not through just one experience of whirling, but several. It was like we did a 5-day retreat, and through this retreat, she just came out with this complete plan that then she did follow, and she's quite successful now. She lives in Canada. It was astounding to her and really incredible.
Wow. It sounds like I remember I had a woman at my one of my retreats, and we did a mushroom journey, and upon that, she instantly was like, I have my business plan. I have like she knew exactly what, and just it was off to the races. So what you're doing is really interesting because um, what you're doing is you're accessing a very similar intelligence, right, through a different gateway, a different doorway. And this is something that I literally was just talking about. I started my Becoming the Medicine yesterday, where I'm teaching people how to access that medicine frequency without ever having to ingest
Yeah.
anything at all.
Yeah, it's
And
the turning. You can
in,
do that through the turn
you can do that through the turn. There are so many different gateways
for
of
sure.
accessing that. And so I love hearing another gateway into that through dance. Dance has been something that I know it's been just kind of like hovering in my awareness, of wanting to get into more, um, because of what I have experienced coming through me when I'm allowing that intelligence to move through me when I have my music. And sometimes it's with plant medicine, sometimes it's not, and it's just it's it's about me knowing how to induce that energy like within me, how to induce that state, I should say. But the rhythm, the movement, the way I want to work with my hands, move my hips, like move my arms, like everything is so intriguing to me. It really opens up. I mean, we talk about the technology of our skin suit that we are inhabiting right now, but I don't think we fully understand um, the how intelligent it truly is and how powerful, like what it actually can do. And I think through movement with the body, such as dance that you're doing, this is absolutely unlocking some of the hidden mysteries that we have not really been able to tap into yet, on a whole. I'm just saying as collectively on a
Oh,
whole
for sure.
to what's available to us.
Yeah. The body is truly unlimited, truly, truly. And the plant medicine that you're talking about is already the what it activates within us or what it releases within us. We already have those
Hmm.
substances, right?
Hmm.
That's
Hmm.
why Rumi says, this wine is not, I'm not drunk on this wine is drunk on me. So so you
Yeah.
could say that about mushrooms, for example. but
Yo.
uh, but that's very profound because it's true. It's you. That's who you are, and that's what this the plant medicine or this mode of practice is just activating, right?
Hmm.
So I love that. I love that. Yeah, the body is truly unlimited. I mean, no one can say they know everything there is to know about the body. Yet, how is it that it has this reputation of being limited is just baffling. It's a
Is
conspiracy.
Yeah. Yes.
So for the human not to realize our own greatness, our own
No, I know.
divinity,
You're
you
absolutely
know?
correct.
Yeah, yeah.
So through the movement, have you noticed, maybe there's not, but have you noticed that there's a certain part of the body that when it's moving, it invokes more power for a man or a woman? Like, is there specific parts, or is it the same, or is it very individual?
That's a great question. It depends on what kind of power we're talking about. I like to think about, and this is what I teach, that chakra 2 and 3, that the combination of these two that sort of make up our core,
Hmm.
the dantian, for example, is the power of the body. So it's physical power. And then the heart is the unlimited power. So these two power places have different energy. The power of your body needs to come from your dantian, this combination of chakra core. But the power as a human needs to be is in the heart. It's access through the heart. And you can truly, when you start opening your heart through movement, through focus, you can sense how energetically you start to expand, and there is a kind of a feeling of unlimitedness to it. Whereas the dantian, the core, doesn't feel that way. Just it's more like an engine, like a motor that supports that opening in the heart,
Mm.
and needs to be accessed as a support. Because if we're just open in our heart, that's quite unbalanced.
Mm-hmm.
There needs to be that groundedness, centeredness, and then
Very important.
openness.
Yeah. So, one of the things that I think has been really powerful for me and many of my clients through unlocking this awakening through the body of spirit is also tapping into the sensuality that can come through. Can you speak more to the power behind sensuality and perhaps why maybe it has been condemned or really looked down upon over the ages and what it really holds for us today?
Yes. So, that's our life force. That's the expression of the life force. And if we don't let the life force to move through us and express through us, then we become ill. Then we become all of the things that happen that we associate with aging, especially. We age faster, and we um, start to have a sense of constriction. And this experience of letting the life force move through us is exactly what dance does, what we were talking about, of that sensing the unlimitedness and the
Hmm.
freedom. It is because you're letting that happen. And why that has been looked down upon and tried to kind of be oppressed by religions primarily and the patriarchal systems is because when this life force moves through us, we truly feel unlimited, and we are much harder to control and to contain, which has been the aim of these religions as symbols or tools of patriarchy, to keep the human, oppressed and obedient. If you have the life force moving through you, that you cannot be controlled. You
Hmm.
cannot just listen to some ridiculous orders, of like, be good and be quiet and don't express, and all the things that we've seen in Iran, for example, or
Hmm.
we've seen throughout the ages, when most of these religions went through their dark periods, especially.
Yeah. So sensuality I found has been a very healing part to reconnect to it, to clear the shame that has been embedded into that sensation and that energy. Because I love that you call it our life force. It truly is. Like it, when you connect to it, it's the joy of life. Like it truly is. That's what it feels like,
Yeah.
like pleasure. And somehow pleasure has become a sin. And like pleasure is what creates.
Absolutely. And that pleasure gives us that energy to be alive and want to live. And these are all contrary to what religion wants. They want
Hmm.
you to be miserable, and so that they can control you and say, this is the way, let me show you the way. Whereas with the life force moving through you, you don't need anybody else to show you the way. You're connecting.
Hmm.
And this is another reason dance is so incredible, is that without you knowing, you start to let your sensuality be felt, especially if the music is kind of asking for that. You're letting that happen, you're letting it flow, and you're less aware of all the shame that you were perhaps carrying prior to that. You just, without directing, you just let the sensuality flow, and then you
Yeah.
see, oh wow, okay, I can be sensual.
It's
So it's,
more often when you're being guided that it is more sensual. Like that's what I found when I'm not trying to control it. That's what wants to come through
yeah, because
naturally.
sensuality has to do with surrender and letting
Hmm.
go, right? And just kind of relaxing into the moment. It's not some, it's not something to be directed,
No.
unless there's an agenda or something. But um, it's most expressed when it just flow. You let it flow, just like nature. Nature is so sensual, so
Yes.
beautiful and luscious.
So your book is coming out in March of this year called Dance of Oneness. What was that like for you to write the book, considering it's all about the movement of the body and everything? Like, what was that like for you?
It wasn't easy, let's put it that way. But I spoke it more
Mm-hmm.
and then transcribed. Because I when I'm teaching, I'm speaking and it just comes much, I can flow much more than if I'm sitting down to write. So I spoke it and I transcribed primarily, and then I went in and made the changes. But it was
Okay.
still hard. It was
Yeah.
still hard to do. That's why it took a long time.
How long did it take you?
Well, it started as a dialogue book with a good friend, Andrew Harvey, who's a brilliant teacher. He's a mystic and author of many, many books. It started I do have to admit, it started 10 years ago
Okay. There's
as a conversation.
yeah.
And then it went through many, changes. It came out of the conversation into just me, and then different things. When it was a memoir mostly first, and then it became more of a practice book. So right now it's like a balance between memoir, a little bit of memoir, but and mostly practice, a guide, a map to embodiment.
Okay. So if someone were to get this book, they would actually be guided through some of the movements or
Yes, they would be guided through the movement, and because it's difficult to read about movement, there are video accompaniment and audio. It's either video or audio, and all of them have both, of course.
okay.
So they would have access forever to these do the video practices of the book and the audio.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, because you can't just read about movement, you have to
Yeah, I
see.
know. That's why I was wondering. So that's great.
That was another hard part, to actually write out stuff that you would actually be saying or
Mm-hmm.
showing.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so there's links to certain videos from the book that allow you to watch and then follow along or
Yes,
your body.
absolutely.
What would
Hmm.
you say to someone who maybe feels like, yes, this, I know I need this, but when they go to move, like they just freeze, like they're frozen. Like, where is that coming from? And what would you say to them to help them move through that?
Yeah, I've seen a lot of that, a lot, and for different reasons, different, mental states of why. And so many people feel like, oh, I can't dance. They feel like they're going to be judged. And to that, I say, just dance for yourself. Don't, nobody's watching. Just do it. And sometimes in a class, people are thinking, oh, I, I can't dance because people will think this and that. And to that, I say, look, everyone's just doing their own thing. They're not really watching you. Everyone's kind of in their own,
Yeah.
space of things that they're working out. Others say, I have these ailments. I have a backache or hips or neck ache, this and that. And then my answer to them would be, move with awareness of that you're healing these parts. Our dance is a healing form. Dance of oneness is a healing form. It's not
Yeah.
pushing yourself, but letting movement heal you.
Yeah.
Completely the opposite of like having to hold certain postures with force. That's a kind of style that is coming from outside in. This is from inside out. So the invitation to really listen. What can I do? What do I feel good to do? And let it flow. And if people are doing this on their own, I would just say, play the music you like, and you won't have a choice but to get up and move with it,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
music that really moves you.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I like will find myself just dancing in my chair or dancing like lying down, like literally like I'm just like, okay, I'm just gonna like do it right here. Like I'm not gonna actually stand. I just think like it's available to anyone
Absolutely,
who's
it's
able to move their
available.
body. Hmm.
Yeah, as long as you have a body, you have a dance,
Hmm.
and it's just so available. It's just
Yeah.
right there, and you're just this much away from joy and feeling unlimited and truly vast.
Before we go, What would you say to using dance as a way to call in what it is that you are creatively visualizing for your future or whatever that might be to anyone who's doing that? How does dance enhance that process of manifestation and I would think that it would greatly enhance it just because you're taking the vision and you're bringing it into movement and form. Like you're really bringing it through the 3D vessel, which is what you want. So, can you kind of go a little deeper into that?
Yeah, that's exactly what happens. I actually have a chapter about that in the
Oh,
book because it's very important to me. You know, our ancestors did that. What comes to mind is the Asclepians, for example. These were people in the region of Greece and Turkey, where what their methodology was that they would envision what they wanted to see happen for themselves and for their community, and through dance and theater also give it form, enact it, let's say. And by doing that, they were bringing that idea from ether into the 3D, into physicality, expressing it. And as you're doing that, you sort of envision that you're surrounded by the fruition of your vision, that it's been fulfilled, and you feel it, and all, and you emotionally hold it, and that way it you come closer to it. It absolutely works, and especially the whirling,
mm,
because it is about bringing in a finer energy. You're literally with your right hand, you're reaching out to bring in the light, and you feel the light, and with your left hand you channel this light. So that I'm saying light as as a general term. It is vision, it is ideas, it is wishes, prayers. It's by whirling it, you bring it into reality, into form. Yeah,
like you're creating almost like a vortex.
creating a vortex. And
Hmm.
because everything comes into being through that,
Hmm.
there is a powerful energy that supports your vision. The clearer you can be about the vision, the better,
Yeah,
to bring it into form through dance,
I
with a
love
lot
that.
of focus, of
Yeah.
course, with a lot of
Hmm.
focus, keeping your focus steady and persistent.
Yeah. It's something I've been starting to work with more and probably I've been wanting to make it more of a daily practice, much like a meditation would be, but because I just find that it's just so good for the body. Like, you're moving, you're getting the blood flow, your oxygen, like everything's just like, alive. So that's wonderful. But then to also like be part of the creative process through your body and movement, I find is a very empowering place to call in from.
Yes, yes. And it really creates coherence between your body, mind, heart, and soul.
Mm-hmm.
There's a real connection and integration that happens through dance,
Mm.
intentional dance, let's say.
Yes, yes. So, what would you, before we go, first, I'd love for you to just share with my audience where they can find you, get in touch with you, also get your book once it's available. And also, if you have any kind of final message that you want to leave with the audience that you feel is important for them to understand when it comes to the power of the dance of oneness.
Sure. So people can connect with me on danceofoneness.org. I'm on Instagram, Banafsheh Dance. So these are places that people could connect. I'm also on Facebook, Banafsheh Sayyad. And what I would love to leave people with is to really come into the sacredness of their temple. This body is a temple, and the oneness that we talk about, everything that we talk about, all of the exalted ideas, will be experienced through this vessel, this temple, and it is truly unlimited. And honor it. And once you really are honoring your own body, you learn to honor all life forms in a different way.
Mm.
And I think that when more of us do that, we're sort of exuding and emanating this way of being in the world that we so desperately need. The more we experience the sacredness of physicality, the less we're prone to take life, the less we're prone to harm life when we live in the sacredness, when we realize how sacred, how precious life is.
Mm. Thank you for those words. And speaking of that, I am going to hold the most positive outcome for Iran in the coming days. And who knows once this is released, what will be. But it's definitely, I feel like this year is certainly a year of breaking free. It does feel like there is some major change that's coming through this year in a sense of old old powers dissolving and ones that are more coherence to the people, you know, and what they really want to come forward. So holding space for that for sure, and we'll see what happens. But thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. I'm going to leave all of the links to your stuff in the show notes for everyone who's listening, whether you're watching on YouTube. Please don't forget to share this episode with your friends, your family, hit the like button, all of that great stuff. And please check out Dance of Oneness. I know I will. I can't wait to get my hands on that. And of course, to my listeners, don't forget we have the 3-day 180 retreat coming up February 26th. If you would like to join me in person for 3 days of incredible change and to become the most expansive version of yourself, I invite you to join me and others in Estes Park, Colorado. Guys, I love you so much. Have a wonderful week, and I'll be back with you next time. Thanks again for joining me for another show on the Enlighten Up podcast. I love you guys so much for all of your continued support. So remember to raise your vibe, find your tribe, and be open to the infinite possibilities held in the mysteries that surround us all. Thanks again for sharing the show with your family and friends. And if you're new to the show and you need to find out more information about me, please head on over to my website, NicoleFrolick.com, where you can join my newsletter. And please follow me on Instagram, Telegram, and YouTube. Keep your light bright, and I'll see you next week.